I'm Rebecca Kemp, editor of Future Constructor and Architect magazine and Public Sector Build Journal. Today I will be joined by Karl Wolf from Xylem Europe and Paul Winnett from Xylem Water Solutions UK, who will be disclosing some industry methods to solve architects and specifiers' water challenges. By way of introduction, and for those who may be unaware, Xylem is an industry leader in water solutions, driven by smart technology and digitalisation. They support projects from planning and construction through to operation, and sustainability really is at the heart of the company. They offer a range of solutions for water supply and boosting, treatment, HVAC, firefighting, waste and stormwater, and the list goes on. So our first speaker today will be Karl Wolf, Market Manager of Building Services at Xylem Europe. Karl, do you want to pop on and say hello?
Yeah.
and our second speaker, oh, hi, Karl. And our second speaker is Paul Winnett from Xylem Water Solutions. He's General Manager for Building Services. Paul, do you want to hop on and say hello?
Yeah, hello, good morning, everybody.
So Karl actually joined the company in 2012 as a product manager for high pressure water pumps in the water utilities, industrial and build services, global markets. And Paul has been with the company for over 30 years in the building services and industrial business. So there's a little bit of background information on our speakers. And before I hand you over, I'll just add there will be an opportunity at the end of the session to address any questions that are asked throughout the webinar. So there's a little sidebar to your right if you're working on a desktop. You can type in any questions you may have. And for mobile users, it is slightly different. So you just swipe left to ask any questions and swipe right to return back to the presentation. All the messages are private, so feel free to ask any questions you like. And there will also be 2 multiple choice polls that we'd like you to get involved with. They'll be posted again on the right-hand bar, and that will be throughout Karl's presentation. So we look forward to hearing your feedback on these as well. So that's enough from me. I'd like to hand you over to Karl now. I'm going to switch off my camera. So Karl, you're now in full control.
Everybody to our today's webinar. So let's jump into the topics and let's start with the first question. Yeah? And our first question is talking about how do you future-proof and protect your buildings? And to answer these questions, I want to go a little bit deeper inside of the question to identify what means future-proof and what do we want to protect in our building. So, future-proof. We have already a situation that was before COVID, where we had an aging infrastructure, more and more houses and buildings are getting old. In UK, for example, the renovation market is approximately 36% of the entire construction market. This is a fairly low number compared to Europe, because in Europe we have values up to 78%, and most of the European countries, the construction market is above 50% in renovation. So in UK we have a fairly low amount, but still 35% of renovation, which is caused by aging infrastructure. We have, of course, population growth, and more of these people are coming to the city. So we have a rapid urbanization. I think this is well known. We need also to identify how this is impacting our buildings. And this is really easy explained because we also have a kind of an indoor generation coming up. Saying this, that means that in the future, 6 out of 10 people will live in the cities. Yeah? And the interesting or even more interesting part of that is that they will spend 21 hours a day indoors. That means they are spending their time inside of buildings. At home, in offices, in a factory, in the shopping malls, in the cinema, in a gym. I will not be in a gym, but I should be. Hopefully not in the hospital. But there are a lot of people, and most of them will spend their time inside. So that means when we talk about water, what Xylem is doing, because we want to make a healthy world with healthy water, we need to try to impact the impact water inside of the buildings, because we are contaminating water, treating water inside of the building. We're using it there, we need to pump it from there back to the nature. So it's really essential for green buildings and for a green future to stay smart and to have smart solutions how to operate water inside of the buildings. Yeah, next to that, we know we have also climate change. This is requiring more and more HVAC. We know that HVAC is requiring up to 50% of energy of a building. So that means we need efficient and smart HVAC solutions to run these buildings and the HVAC systems economically and environmental friendly. And digitalization, I think one of the core topics, and we have seen here a dramatic boost in the last weeks, months. Yeah, this was already before COVID, but COVID accelerated that. We see we are now in webinars, we are going more and more digital. And looking on statistics, the construction market is the least developed market in terms of digitization. That means there's a huge potential for increasing the effectiveness, optimizing processes with digitalization along the complete life cycle of a building, in the planning phase, in the construction phase, in the operation maintenance phase, everywhere. Digitalization is here to help us all supply chain members in this process to optimize buildings. And if we want to create future-proof buildings, we want, of course, or need to see how do we solve these challenges of the future. And with COVID-19, which I put here in the center of the slide, it was impacted. We see that there are market trends to home offices where more and more people will stay at home from work. That means we have a reduction of the demand of office buildings or offices itself. We also see already statistics that this will, on the one hand, decrease the office demand, but on the other hand, it will increase the water demand, because when more people are at home, you do more activities decentralized. That means you cook at home, you do much more at home. We just simply use more water. So looking on that, there's a huge challenges coming up, and COVID is accelerating that. We also need to take care that our hospitals and our core assets are running during such situations as now, and water is essential to run these buildings, because without water in a building, we cannot really live inside of that. So future-proof means simply take that challenges that we have now, take that how this is accelerated by COVID, and improve the buildings. And when we talk about what is our building and what we like to improve, of course, inside of the building, we want to have employee comfort, all the people that needs to stay inside of this building, even it's an office or a school, university, whatever, we want to feel comfortable inside. So we need to have the right temperature in summer and in winter. Environmental friendly, we know we want to reduce our water and energy footprint to a minimum. We of course need to work now more effectiveness with labor. So operating the building or maintaining the equipment needs to be with as less efforts as possible, that we can work effectively with the people. And especially now with the COVID situation, we know we want to reduce also people being on the spot and being maybe able to contaminate it by issues on site. So we want also to reduce the movement of people. So, and there are, when it comes to service and maintenance opportunities, some really interesting technologies how we can improve this. Of course, we also like to protect our building. So when we talk about water, we want, of course, to fire protect our building, and we want to make it easy to install this. There are also external things that can come to our building, like heavy rain or storm water. So we also need to protect our building against this storm water. And of course, when we talk about risk management, especially now, we know we want to have always a view inside of a building. What's the status? What is the condition of our building? The condition of our systems, that we can really manage the risk. Because we need buildings that are working at the lowest effort. And one thing Of course, we want to control our OPEX and CAPEX. Now with COVID-19, we will definitely see a shift from CAPEX to OPEX. So in the upcoming months and years, we will definitely focus on helping our customers to reduce the operation and maintenance costs inside of the building with more efficient products, with systems to improve that, but also with systems to improve maintenance. So this is the first main question. We have looked inside of we have looked at the challenges, we have looked inside of the building. Very important, we need to look also on the complete life cycle, of course. And Xylem is here to help along the complete life cycle. So when we start with the planning and design phase, here, I mean, one keyword which is jumping into everybody's mind when we talk about digitalization is BIM. And especially in UK, where we have, I would say, the country in Europe which is most advanced in buildings information modeling compared to other countries in Europe. We are helping here with digital data about our products, which can be easily incorporated to projects, into water utility projects, into industrial projects, but of course also in building projects. So we have also selection tools, we have CAD sensors to download drawing. To help how to use this equipment, we can offer trainings, how to do application engineering, how to select the right product for the right application. And of course, next to these tools and these training opportunities, we have also our skilled application engineers, which can help to answer questions during this design phase. So when we talk about future-proof buildings, it starts already in the planning phase. And this is, I think, the most important key to partner here. And I think this is also a very important key now, already before COVID, but also now accelerated by COVID. We need all partners that we can trust and help us to solve the challenges. And we are here to solve the water challenges with you. So from the planning and design phase, where we have a lot of interfaces to already make buildings effective, to plan buildings in the right way, we are then coming to the construction and fabrication phase, and we are having equipment for you. And I like to say that a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So that means high quality products which are reliable, not only efficient, and which we can trust, are really important to make the buildings future-proof. So it's all about quality for a long-lasting time. In the commissioning phase, when everything is prepared, we have how-to videos online. We have, of course, the mandatory IOM instructions, but also a learning center how to deal with our products. And also here we offer additionally hands-on support with our service fleet. So this is really important also here. High-quality equipment needs to be installed and commissioned inside of a building, and this is not only related to water, it's for all that, with high-quality partners and with people who know what they are doing. And so we can also future-proof the buildings by simply ensuring that the complete supply chain and building up is working in a proper way. During the operation and maintenance phase, where COVID will have now the impact, where the focus will be on the lowest OPEX by high efficient products, so also by optimizing systems like maintenance, where we can have alarm services or condition services. This is all things that we offer as services to help you and to operate buildings and water buildings more smart in a better way. And also here, of course, we have original spare parts. We have a service fleet who can help you with service and maintenance. And we have also new technologies coming up. So not only products and equipment, we have technologies like alarm services. So you get an alarm when something is not working with the equipment. Asset monitoring to see and to allow predicting failures already up to 6 months in advance before a failure happens inside of the system. Or HVAC optimization, very important. As we have said before, up to 50% energy are required by HVAC systems, but we have high quality products, and to be fairly, there are a lot of others who have high quality products with high efficiency. So with efficient products, we can already win a lot, but we can even win more if we have HVAC optimization systems which are optimizing the entire systems and how this is working. And here we have a partnership to offer this next to the high efficient products, also one level higher in the system hierarchy to optimize the entire system. Yeah, and in the renovation phase, when we have said that up to 36% in UK are related to renovation, this will, I think, with COVID, where the capex will be reduced, renovation will run into the focus. So I think this value will increase now. Yeah, we can overall help with the solutions, with equipment, with systems, with technology, simply to make your building also future-proof. So I think these are all things which are essential. Yeah, and before we hand over to Paul, yeah, and who is looking into the details of the systems and the smart technologies, let's take a look on how a building needs to be incorporated in a city or in the complete entire water system, because it makes a lot of sense if we have one smart building for us, but if you want to be future-proof and if you want to be environmental friendly, we need to look on the entire system. So, and here it's really important to look on 3 different layers. Yeah? We have on the one hand side, on the very left hand side, you see also challenges which are coming up related to water. We have discussed this already before, but what is our answer to that? Yeah? We have here 3 different layers. We have intelligent equipment. So intelligent equipment is exactly those equipment which is in touch with water, so which is at the front, solving the issues, being in touch with water. Here it's very important to have already equipment which is be able to connect, able to adapt its operation to the requirements, and really also able to connect to the entire interface, because the next layer is the smart network and services. So we need to connect all the smart intelligent equipment to a network. And then the next layer is, of course, advanced data analytics, because if we are able to connect our equipment in touch with water with a network to AI, we are able to use the data to run our systems more effective and more environmental friendly. And we are able to connect buildings to the entire ecosystem of a city with that, to ensure affordability, resilience, and accessibility of water. And how does this look like if we look on the map? Yeah, so when we look here on a water island, or Xylem island, if we would like to call it like that, and where we can find everywhere intelligent equipment. I have here an example with some of our latest technologies, for intelligent equipment and sensors. We are just coming up with this new smart range of circulators for HVAC systems. We have, for example, also residential metering equipment for buildings inside of smart cities. We have wastewater systems, intelligent ones, which are ensuring clog-free pumping inside of a building, or also in the wastewater system. So and we find also smart monitoring motors and pumps in boosters, which we can be used, of course, in a building to ensure water supply, but also in an industrial plant or in the water treatment plant to supply the water. Yeah? And we have also here as an example adaptive mixers, which have also came up in the last months, which are smart products in the water treatment plant. So overall, you see here, we are taking care that we can connect, but that we have intelligent equipment and sensors in the different water applications, from the building, in the city, to the treatment plant, in the overall life cycle. Looking on the next layer, we have here also services to connect this. Yeah? So we have tools to connect it, to see a map where's which equipment, to manage the assets and to optimize the services, so you exactly know when to service which pump. You have this in overview. There's also an opportunity for remote monitoring to always observe what's going on in the field. So this is our smart network services, and they can connect via cloud systems and collect all the information from inside of the building up to a treatment plant and connect the entire system. Yeah, and on the top of that, We need, of course, to use the data that we are collecting. Here are also two examples of advanced data analytics, which are in the water supply network, where we can detect and assess the condition of the pipes, or where we have also decision equipment to support smart wastewater transport systems. Yeah? So this is the last layer where we have to go to. This is definitely the future, not only of smart buildings, but of smart water. Yeah? Intelligent equipment, connecting that, analyzing the data, and making the right things out of that. And having this said, I like to hand over to Paul. And no, I don't like to hand over to Paul because I missed before something. Yeah, because I can go back. I wanted to ask you some questions, and I simply forget that. I apologize for that. Yeah, because here on the future-proof building, we talked about planning and design. We talked about digitalization. We talked about BIM, and I like to run quickly some polls and to get your feedback about BIM. And Rebecca, can you help us to run these polls now? So
now.
So we have two polls, yeah? And the first one is, how often are you using BIM for your building specifications? So at the very first beginning, when you specify, do you have BIM mandated in your specification? Is it required? And the second one, do you believe there's an element of untapped potential with regards to BIM and the water sector? Just speaking about BIM, we are really heavily investing here, yeah, and we, in the moment, have investing in our planning and design opportunities, how we can help you. We are getting more and more people, more and more products digital available. And of course, we know talking about BIM is not about the 3D file or non-graphical data. Building information modeling is, of course, an entire approach to manage digital data across the life cycle. And I'm really interested in how you see that. And I kindly ask you to run these polls. Yeah? I saw we have already some answers. Yeah? So maybe last reminder. So please do it now. And I will, in the meanwhile, hand over to Paul, and we can continue the presentations to look inside of the Xylem Building Service Solutions and into these 4 different water systems inside of a building. Yeah. And Paul, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Karl. So just following on from Karl's introduction, so looking at how do we maintain efficient and continuous supply of water for buildings and properties at the right pressure. So I suppose the main thing is looking at around once we come out of the municipal network, looking at residential and commercial booster systems. Most commercial and residential booster systems these days have moved away from fixed speed to variable speed applications. Looking where we have obviously constant pressure requirements at varying demands. So where we're looking for various different, hugely different fluctuations in demand, it's better now to go for a variable speed drive system where we'll use best-in-class efficiency pumps running at their peak efficiency, but with utilization of variable speed drive means that the pump will only run and the booster will only run at the required flow and pressure for the demand at any given time. That also gives us a lot more built-in reliability for the boosters these days as well, because the pumps are not running in anger. They will come in on a soft start scenario rather than being pressure switch controlled, which would generally give water hammer and lots of problems downstream of the system. Also to ensure that where we have the certification, all of the clean water pumping technology and pump equipment is RAS approved to make sure that it meets the drinking water standards. And most of the pumps, if you look at the vertical multi-stage pumps, you boreholes and the scubas have best-in-class efficiency. So when we couple that with the variable speed drives and moving on to permanent magnet motors, that kind of future-proofs the buildings and the installations as well to make sure that we are installing the most efficient products as new installations and upgrades, and we optimize systems to make sure that they are running at their peak performance. And then moving into kind of more the sort of latest developments in technology onto Xylem's recent acquisitions, going into flow meters and heat meters. So builds a lot more intelligence into the building, so we can now monitor, remotely monitor, capture, give building owners, landlords, etc., data on how much water is being used by a particular apartment in a block of flats or an office. So the flow meters, the sensors flow meters that we're now able to supply can either be drive-by, walk-by read, or actually read over the network. So these can be remotely monitored. So people can get a lot more intelligence today around what is happening within the buildings. And then when we go on to DRIS, monitoring and control systems, whilst variable speed technology has been around for a long time now we're starting to couple that, as I say, with permanent magnet motors, remote condition monitoring. We're able to install equipment within the control panels of the booster sets now with the variable speed DRIS, where we can remotely monitor what is happening with the pump system. So a landlord or a building maintenance company these days can actually have people either sat at home or in a call center actually monitoring the assets remotely, so reducing the need for people to continually be on site looking at assets, managing those assets. This can now be done from a remote distance, as I say, even by somebody just sat in their own lounge watching TV on an iPad or a PC, can actually look and see what their booster set or their heating pump is doing these days. And as kind of water security is becoming a lot more commonplace, water scarcity, I'd say one things that some of the water companies in the UK and the water supply organisations across Europe are seeing as a result of the COVID situation is that water usage has actually increased. So a lot of people these days are looking at alternative methods for water supply. There's a lot more investment being put into rainwater harvesting. So using our Vedico and Sanitaire ozone and UV treatment systems as alternative water sources to maintain the water security in a building, kind of manage Legionella control, things like that. So water disinfection, ensuring that is to the highest quality, is really becoming at the forefront of building control now as well, rather than just relying 100% on the municipality. A lot more companies having stored water in buildings, having standalone pumped booster set systems. So water quality is becoming quite paramount as water scarcity becomes more of a day-to-day problem. So if we look at some kind of live examples of the technologies that Xylem have implemented around the world, current largest high-rise building in the world is the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Xylem were chosen back in 2010 when the building was being constructed to supply all of the water booster pumps fitted with the hydrobar variable speed for this package. So in total, there were 6 water transfer sets and 7 Luara water booster sets provided for this system, supplying an average of just under 1 million litres of water per day at the low-edge energy costs. So there was a significant amount of work done up front to ensure that the booster sets that were being installed in this application met the highest standards and had the best-in-class efficiency. So it's quite a significant project which Xylem were involved in back in 2010. So moving on, so looking then at our indoor climate, and again, as more and more people are now working from home, there's been a lot of publicity in the press recently, obviously since COVID, of having 3,000-4,000 people sat in a high-rise office block staring at PCs is probably a thing of the past. So more and more people today are working from home and probably will continue to work from home as we go forward. We need to ensure that we have the correct HVAC systems, that we're optimizing our HVAC systems in the correct way, that they're running at the most efficient points that we can. So that end, we have a full range of high efficiency circulators. We're about to launch the next generation residential circulator, which has best in class EEI index efficiency. And again, looking at the pumps in a heating system to ensure that they are running at their peak efficiency. Many older pumps are still installed in office blocks, hotels, residential properties, which are today still inefficient, not meeting the latest legislation. So we can have lots of projects and engineers kind of looking at optimizing these systems to make sure that they are running at the most efficient ways that they can, and that we don't have kind of pumps sat there redundant or just ticking over because there are leaks in the system. And again, coming back to the treatment systems, looking at our UV and ozone treatment packages to ensure that we are disinfecting water in these systems to keep bacteria to a minimum. And linked with our plate and frame heat exchanger packages, we can now work more towards large bespoke projects where we're looking at data centers, large district heating plants, etc. So we can cover the full spectrum of the fluid technology requirements within these large district heating and cooling schemes. Linked to that, moving on to our sensors, thermal energy meters, our heat meters, as we're looking at heat interface units. Again, more kind of district heating schemes are coming online. There's a lot of investment across Europe and starting to come more into the UK around district heating. We can supply flow meters and heat meters with these schemes to ensure that the data can be captured remotely through the airways via telemetry, and landlords, property owners can have good control over what's actually going on in a property. Linked with all the monitoring and control systems and services that Xylem offer, there's a significant project package that we can put together with regards to optimizing HVAC systems to ensure that they are operating at their peak performance, and make sure that systems are running as efficiently as they can be. Again, looking at some large significant applications, we did a job recently at a large new build hospital in Portugal, where we worked very closely with the project engineers on site to ensure that we had the highest efficiency pumps and drives for the clean water pumping within the building services of the hospital, giving energy savings up to around 70%. We also then managed to work with the customer to ensure that we were installing clog-free flight pumping technology for the wastewater. As you can imagine, significant wastewater challenges associated with a hospital type application. So we were able to put together a full bespoke package for both the clean and the wastewater pumping requirements on this system, and give the customer full peace of mind that their full end-to-end site water cycle was actually covered by very high efficient solutions with a strong backup customer service and optimized systems to ensure that the life cycle of the full system would meet the higher standards that the client was requiring. So if we then look at the demand of increased wastewater disposal, so as we see more demand for water usage, there's obviously a lot more demand for the disposal of the wastewater and the stormwater. So we've launched a number of new products in recent years. Kind of top of the list at the moment is the Xylem's unique Concerta product, reducing system cleaning costs by up to 80% and energy costs up to 70%. Due to the unique design of the Concerta as well, it also reduces the significant amount of pumps required to cover the same level of duty requirements. So from a spares handling point of view, an optimization point of view, the pump can learn very quickly the kind of conditions of the system and adapt itself. We've managed to reduce the number of models from a traditional wastewater pump from about 100 models down to around about 10 different models covering the same operating window. Looking at our residential commercial wastewater pumps and pump stations, we're now offering a full plug and play residential commercial systems which are ready for immediate installation and connection to either a private or municipal supply. And again, with the monitoring and control systems, these can be remotely monitored via various BMS or SCADA systems. And again, we have a monitoring and control team which can actually look at these systems, monitor them for yourself and your clients remotely, again, to save having call centers where people are kind of looking at screens and looking at all these assets. So these assets can now be very efficiently remotely monitored via call centers and via teams of engineers based anywhere in the globe. Doesn't have to be specifically in the UK, but they could be monitored 24/7 to ensure that systems are operating efficiently. And if there is a failure in a system, then we can get engineers to site in a timely manner, quite often before the client actually realizes that they did have a problem within their wastewater package station. So again, looking at live installation of best practice on the Concerta, we was presented with a particular challenge by Heathrow Airport, one of the biggest airports in the world. They had significant problems with the pumps in their pump stations clogging, blocking through varying different solids, non-biological solids, including plastic material, wet wipes, nappies, clothing, and all sorts of unusual things that you wouldn't generally anticipate to find in a packaged pump station. However, they had significant costs of tankering with the pump stations clogging. So we installed the Concerta, kind of the unique first intelligent integrated wastewater pumps within the system. And this is able to tackle the problems in the sump. It's been able to learn the characteristics of the sump through the technology in the brain that's actually built within the Concerta product, and has actually managed to reduce the tankering costs of the sump. And to date, there's actually been no blockages in this sump. It's the Concerta has actually been in place for quite a significant amount of time on the Heathrow Airport site, and they've actually now standardized on the Concerta across all of their pumping stations right across the whole airport facility. So it's managed to give them clog-free pumping. They've had no emergency call-outs. Their tankering costs have reduced to almost zero. They've seen a 53% reduction in energy consumption. They've also seen a significant reduction in the footprint of the control cabinets and control equipment that's now needed to run these sumps. As you can imagine, somewhere like Heathrow Airport, space is at a premium. So by being able to reduce the size of the control equipment, that's meant that they can have room for other equipment to work alongside these packages. So there's now been a huge reduction in reduced cleaning and servicing costs as well. So all in all, they've seen around about 80% reduction in their running costs from a wastewater perspective right across the site. So this has been a significant, excellent install for the Concerta product. And since we've had these sites across Heathrow Airport, there's been many other problematic sites right up and down the country, lots of care homes where you can imagine there are specific problems with blockage of pumps, where we've managed to install the Concerta product, particularly in a lot of county council installations, and it's completely removed the additional costs of tankering for these clients going forward. So if anybody does have any specific customers or clients that have problem sites with blockage of wastewater pumps, then I'd encourage you to get in touch with us and we can have a look at possibly solving the problem using our Concerta product going forward. Then moving on to fire protection systems, we're starting to see a bit of a shift in the UK market, although there is the European harmonized standard, BSEN 12845 for fire sets in Europe. There are also LPC rules attached to that, but we're starting to see a shift as well, where consultants, contractors are starting to integrate the fire sprinkler system with the building booster set as well. So what we're starting to see a steady increase in is booster sets being oversized, having additional pumps to actually accommodate the fire package as well. We do manufacture booster sets with both electrical and diesel driven pumps on them to the European 12845 standard. We also have a range of residential booster sets to meet the 9521 UK standard for residential fire packages as well as NFPA certified for US style applications. We also have our ESV, the multi-stage pump, which are used a lot in the jockey pump applications, again with best-in-class efficiency. We've had installations as well where we've come with clients because of the inherent design of a jockey pump, traditionally would always be used on a pressure switch control, where because of the high pressures involved in keeping the fire ring main pressurized, you can have significant water hammer damage when the pump comes online. So we have also retrofitted our hydrovar variable speed drive to a number of jockey pumps to maintain the pressure within the system, but also to reduce that damage from the significant water hammer that can happen in these applications. So again, that's a significant development that's happened over the recent years to make these systems a lot more reliable. Going on to again another solution where Xylem has actually been involved and done a full back-to-back solution. This is looking at a four-star hotel, Congress and Hotel Spa that we recently supplied, where we supplied all the end suction pumps for the water supply, booster sets with integrated Wedeco UV disinfection to give a capacity up to 400 cubic meters an hour for the water supply and pressure boosting around the property. We're also able to supply all of the fire protection equipment, both electrical and diesel fire sprinkler systems to the specification, and all the HVAC systems as well were delivered by our stainless steel circulation pumps. So again, Xylem is able to offer the full building service solution. And then on top of that, obviously, once we've supplied all the clean water pumping and fire protection, we can look at the wastewater pumping applications as well going forward. So I think that's kind of just gives you an idea of where Xylem is going with the new technologies and the up-to-date kind of products and technological advances that we have coming into the market. Let's say thank everybody for attending today and for their attention. I don't know, Rebecca, whether we have any questions come in.
And we have some. I'd just like to thank you and Karl for those insightful presentations, very fitting with what's going on right now and designing and planning for buildings of the future. And it's been great to see a couple of case studies as well. So thank you, Paul. I'll just move on to some questions. We've had quite a few come through. So the first one we have is actually for you, Paul. So I'll pop it up here so you can read it. In your opinion, in your opinion, what would you say is the most significant digital innovation that's transformed the water sector? So,
yeah, thanks, Rebecca. I think there's a couple of things here. I suppose the most recent digital innovation has been around the energy optimization and remote asset monitoring. As a lot more engineers, traditionally there'd have been a lot more on-site engineers, as a lot of systems these days are not regularly checked and maintained. The digitization of flow meters, remote monitoring, etc., moving on from condition monitoring has meant that more landlords, property owners, large chain companies where they would generally just have one central communications area are able to remote all of their assets from one central place now, or even from a laptop at their home. So when you link that into things such as flow meters, heat meters, etc. The digitization of being able to get this information directly from the system or the machine means that people can react a lot quicker to a failure. So quite often, if you look at a booster set as an example, supplying a tower block, engineers can be on site to repair a failed pump before anybody's even noticed these days that there has been a drop in system pressure. So whereas in the past, probably 4 or 5 years ago, it would have waited until somebody within the apartment block reported a drop in pressure, that they had no water, then they would have to wait for an engineer to attend site. Quite often these days, the problem will have been solved without anybody even noticing that there has been a problem, because we have the digital information to maintain these assets remotely.
It's only going to get better.
Absolutely.
Questions, but if any of you have any questions you'd like to ask, it's not too late, so please type them into the sidebar to the right. So let me move on to, I've got one for Karl here. So Karl, in the wake of coronavirus, have you noticed a sea change amongst the architectural community with regards to water sustainability for building specifications? Karl, have you got your mic on? You might have to start again, sorry.
I was on mute. Yeah, I would say there will be changes. Yeah, and I think it has started to change. Yeah, I see discussions are changing. We have discussed this also in the trends before. There is definitely a need to make the business more effective. Yeah, to make all the processes more effective in the entire supply chain. So how do we exchange data? How do we even purchase products? So all of this will get more efficient and will use the digital data. Yeah? And we have asked Paul for BIM because it's also really interesting. Yeah? And looking on the results, we see that today only few people are using BIM regularly. But on the second poll, that there is something in for the future, more or less everybody's agreeing that BIM is a kind of future which will help to make, or which will impact the building service business. So I would say what is definitely coming and will impact the specifications is related in the data exchange. So how data will be exchanged from the manufacturer over the distributor, over the architect, finally to the facility manager or the operator of buildings. So I think this will be one of the keys where we will see a simplification and optimization over the complete supply process. It starts with BIM, but this is all a journey about digital data management, and I think that this will be the biggest impact from COVID. Yeah.
Oh, I think we have one more. Paul, I have one for you. So, what issues will we eventually encounter if we don't adopt digitalisation within the industry? So that one's for Paul.
Yes, great question. I think if we don't adopt more digitization within the industry, as we see a lot more, the water companies are now talking around water scarcity. As I said earlier in the presentation, with more and more people working from home, a lot more kind of people working flexible hours, the water usage has gone up significantly. So if we don't kind of adopt the digitalization, we will find that the continuing trend of water scarcity continues and will cause us significant problems as a society going forward. I think also because the way COVID has changed things as well, big call centers, people kind of answering phones with problems is probably not going to happen as quick and efficiently as it has in the past. The large call centers looking at asset management is going to be a lot kind of impacted through the things like COVID. So I think what we will find is the industry will be forced to accept more digitalization going forward, as more and more people are now smart working. So the digitalization will force people to actually not be on site, to be working home from more often. So they will have to adapt to this new way of having this information at their fingertips. So if we don't accept and move on and accelerate the digitization of the water industry and the building services industry, people being able to monitor the assets and control the assets remotely whilst they're working from home will be a lot more difficult, and we will have more challenges around optimizing our systems and keeping our systems running at peak efficiency if we don't adopt it going forward.
And I now have a question for Karl. So, Karl, do you believe that the changes COVID-19 has presented to the water industry are here to stay?
Yeah, I think there are, when we look at our overall economy, I think there will a lot of lessons that we learned. They will definitely stay. We had this push of digitalization that just Paul answered to, and I think COVID-19 has accelerated the digitalization more than a CEO or any other people in the industry would have done this. Yeah? And I think this digitalization trend and this acceleration of it is here to stay.
Yeah.
I think also taking more care of water, talking about scarcity, connecting systems. As Paul said before, we need to, and we have shown in one of the slides, we need to connect the different systems inside of a building to the overall network. Yeah? So connectivity, looking on the entire management. This is things that were on the agenda, but I think with COVID it showed definitely the need, and this is something that will stay. Yeah? So I think we have simply a different picture, and our priorities have been now, I would say, clearly selected. What we need to take care for in the water sector.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Karl. I think we have time for maybe a couple more questions. We have a couple of product-based questions, actually. So I'll read them out, and Paul and Karl, you can just jump in wherever you feel necessary. So we have one asking, is the new EMP pump available in Super Duplex yet? Yeah, I'll pass it over to you.
Because before I joined as a market manager for building services, I was the product manager for the EMP, so I can easily answer that. So Super Duplex is available on request for the EMP. We need this definitely for desalination plants, especially in regions where we have a high water temperature and a high salt content inside of the water. We do not have Super Duplex on stock because it makes no sense, but it needs to be available on request, and I know that we have already quoted pumps and also delivered pumps in Super Duplex.
One more. Again, Paul or Karl, jump in whenever you feel necessary. So how do we market smart water solutions in emerging markets known to be late adopters of technologies?
So I think going forward, this is kind of one of those big challenges that we face. So what we are trying to do is use the best practices that we have been involved in across the Europe and the US, writing many white papers and using those as a catalyst to promote these technologies in those emerging markets. So the emerging market is always a big challenge and the last adopters of kind of new technologies. But we're using our experience of existing installations and kind of looking at the challenges that we have faced in implementing in the early adopter countries and taking the best practices from those applications and installations and projects and using those as best practices to promote into the emerging markets.
Carl. I think we're actually drawing to a close now, so I hope you found that very useful and informative. If you do have any questions that you think of after the session, then you can contact Karl and Wolf. Their contact details are on the right-hand side. So just copy and paste them into your emails. Also, it's worth adding that this presentation has been recorded, so it will be available on Xylem's website, Future Construction Architects website, and Public Sector Build Journal's website and social pages. So you'll be able to watch it back again. And if you watch back again and think of any questions, then do get in contact with Karl or Paul. I'd like to thank our speakers, Karl and Paul, for imparting their knowledge and sharing some case studies, and yeah, just giving us an update on the water industry. And I'd like to thank our audience for taking the time out of their day, because I know everyone's a bit hectic at the moment. So it's really made for an interesting discussion. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.